Hi, my name's Joe. I've been a Kiss fan since I was 7 years old. My neighbor let me listen to his Love Gun record, and between the album cover and the music, I was hooked. I, like every other kid on my block, was blown away by the pictures I had seen of them, the music I had heard from them, and the rumors I had heard about them. The blood was real. So was the fire. Gene's tongue was a cow's tongue. They always wore the makeup, and no one ever saw them without it. I remember very clearly being at my grandmother's house one afternoon when she was watching General Hospital. A commercial came on for the new record Kiss Unmasked. I ran straight to my mother and asked if I could get it. She told me, "If you go to camp, when you get back, I'll get it for you." Up until that moment, I had argued and fought every day because I didn't want to go to camp. Boom. There I am, waiting to go to camp. I got on that bus and went, and it sucked. 2 weeks of torture. But when I got home, I got that record. I'm 47 now, and like most of you watching this, I never stopped following the band. I've collected everything Kiss I could get my hands on. I've seen the band countless times, met them, gone on the cruises, and for the past 5 years, I've even hosted my own podcast about them. Recently, I was sitting in my room and I was thinking, it'd be really cool to tell my story. And then I thought, it'd be even more cool if I could tell our story about our love for the greatest rock and roll band of all time. In this episode, we're headed to Pennsylvania and the Montgomery County Community College, where our friend Matt Porter runs the Kiss Room once a month. Matt and I have been friends for quite a few years now, and he has one of the greatest Kiss radio shows on air today. Just like most of us watching, Matt's been a Kiss fan almost his entire life, and he has some really great stories. So let's get to it. By the way, before we get started, yes, we did notice that the camera was vibrating a little bit. But we weren't going to scrap this episode over a little earth shaking. I just want to hear you. We've been friends for a few years now. And hearing your story and what you do here at Montco Radio with the Kiss Room and everything, obviously there's a whole story that leads up to it.
Sure.
So now I've heard you talk about dressing up as Peter Criss.
Yes.
And what was it, 1970?
Halloween 78 was the first time they ever dressed up. And that was obviously the solo albums were out and Kiss Meets the Phantom was out. And my brothers and our friend Dwayne, and I was Peter Criss, Anthony was Paul Stanley, Phil was Ace, and Dwayne was Gene. And that Halloween, we actually marched in the Halloween parade in Percy. Shout out to Percy, PA. And we won silver dollars. We were all $1 richer. Our lives were forever changed from dressing up as Kiss. Now, obviously, the costumes weren't tribute band ready. There were a lot of aluminum foil involved, but it was great fun. I think about that a lot.
Do you remember the first time what was your first experience with Kiss?
You know what? It was that summer of '76 when Kiss was starting to really make a lot of noise, and I think a lot of the people in the neighborhood, they were all listening to Kiss. There was a couple older kids that lived down the street or next to us, Brian and Lenny Deal, they were listening to it, and we just started to kind of filter in, and then by that September, everybody's going back to school, everybody's a Kiss fan, so it's like, summer, fall, '76. Is there anything bigger than Kiss at that point? So that's really where I start.
So you what was like the record that you got?
I remember the first record actually buying was Rock and Roll Over, but we became very aware of them during the summer. That 1976 tour poster was out. You would see that. And then they would start to show up every once in a while on TV. But I distinctly remember Rock and Roll Over and then Destroyer, obviously. And Paul Lynde Halloween Special, obviously, was a big deal, of you actually seeing them walk around and kind of talk, even though it's, we don't wear makeup. But the great fun, sure.
What about your friends? You guys obviously
just like everybody else seems to have that story where you had that close Kiss group.
Right.
And so did you guys all sit around and talk about them?
We always joke our neighbor Lenny would point his speakers out the window of on their porch, and he would be playing Kiss. And we kind of discovered a lot of it via his records out the window. Really, I was just always lucky. I mean, my twin brother was a big Kiss fan, and then our younger brother was also a fan, and we would talk about it amongst ourselves. But a lot of the people at school, there was, shout out Percy Elementary, was everybody, was into Kiss, and, inside recess meant Kiss, and, Kiss Alive, and you'd put ketchup packets in your mouth and, drip ketchup out your mouth. And that was our core group was people in our neighborhood or school or things like that, sure.
And you discovered the band just from TV, or?
You know what? Really, from our neighbors. That was the best part. Was, like I said, the deals. They would blast Kiss out the window, and that was kind of where we found it. And then, obviously, you hear, because you really never heard Kiss on the radio, so it was really somebody had to kind of introduce you to it, and they were really the ones who kind of got us into it. That was our neighbors in 1976.
I became a Kiss fan in 2004. I was 14 years old, and I got invited to go see Kiss. I'd never been to a rock concert before, and it completely changed my life. I'm like, oh, this is really cool. I became a fan of the band instantly. Just watching them blew me away and became a fan overnight.
So I suppose I first started listening to Kiss this year, in fact, 2018, when one of my best friends, Greg Troyan, who's a huge Kiss fan, decided, Steve, you need to listen to the entire Kiss discography in order. So I'm up through Creatures of the Night right now.
I discovered Kiss in a really, really funny way. I came home one day and I was 15 years old, so that's 40 years ago. There was a movie called Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park. And I didn't know who Kiss was. And my dad said, hey, you want to listen to a movie on the weekend, Saturday night? And it's about 4 clowns playing music. So I said, that's weird. Okay, that sounds interesting. Go to school, high school. My friend Claude Longo, he goes, hey, Dan, are you watching a Kiss movie on the weekend? I said, what is that? He says, you don't know Kiss? You should be ashamed of yourself. So we went out and bought my first Kiss album. So it was a used record store. There was Rock and Roll Over and Love Gun. But the cover of Rock and Roll Over appealed to me so much. I get home and I put that record on my little Fisher Price thing, record player. And it was hilarious because, nowadays you can carry a stereo in your hand, now the old stuff. So the song starts, in the morning I raise my head, and it goes on and on. I said, wow, this guy has a really good voice. And then I lose my mind, 15 years old, I want you! And it starts, and I went, oh my freaking God, listen, I'm still having chills when I talk about it. And I became what is known as a Kiss freak.
Who's your favorite member?
I started out, I was really a Peter Criss guy. I thought Peter Criss was cool. But over the years, it's definitely become Gene Simmons. I mean, I think at some point, Gene became really the power figure of Kiss for me. And it's really, I kind of always think most of the journey it's been Gene. I've been a Gene guy.
When was the first time you ever saw them in concert?
Late. As far as Kiss goes, it was late. It was April 1st, 1986. So it's Asylum Tour. Stabler Arena, for one reason, was I could finally drive. Had a driver's license, drove up, we couldn't find the place. You figure there's no GPS at the time. Drove past it, came back right as King Cobra is leaving the stage. Couldn't believe that, that logo looked so huge, but I didn't see him till later. I didn't drive, and finally by 86 I had a license, and I was so thrilled we could drive to that show. So
did it blow your mind?
Loved it. And here's the funny thing, we were sitting way in the back, like the seats. Now Stabler Arena is not a big venue, but we were way up on about the second level, and Gene kept pointing right at us, right? He's pointing right at us. Now you certainly realize quickly that the follow spot is right behind our head, and of course he's just pointing at his spotlight, but I was positive at the time he knew we were rocking out more than anybody else in that arena, and he's pointing right up. at his follow spot. So it's
You never stop loving Kiss.
I've always loved it. It's kind of always been. I always say by 1978, I had everything you could want because you had the first Star Wars movies, you had all the comic books, Linda Carter in her Wonder Woman costume, and all those first Kiss albums that you could want, all the way through like Alive 2 and Double Platinum, and so really by 1978, my future was kind of certain.
It was cut. I always ask people this. Every person that I've interviewed, did you ever catch crap from friends going, I can't believe you love that
You know
band."
what? I've talked I talked to Ken Mills obviously in the podcast, and he talks about the Monday after Kiss Meets the Phantom was on. Everybody was on the bus was making fun of him, and I remember everybody still liking it. And eventually people start falling out. I remember in junior high art class, and she's showing us album covers, and they show the Kiss album, the first Kiss album, and a couple people going, "Oh, Kiss!" Like it was passé at that point. But I never really felt that, and I always had kind of that core group of people that were Kiss fans, so that I never, I didn't really care what anybody thinks. I never really did. So it's just, I never felt that backlash. There was always a good enough group of people around, and if you can imagine life before the internet, when you had to just actually talk to people, it was great.
Yeah.
Actually, my favorite member is Eric Carr, but because I'm infatuated with the whole demon persona, I do this. But yeah, Eric Carr.
Well, the favorite Kiss member is obviously Paul Stanley. I mean, he's the perfect frontman, the greatest frontman of all time, so it's all Paul all the way.
My favorite Kiss member has always been, will always be, and is my favorite rock star of all time, Mr. Ace Frehley, the Spaceman.
Favorite member is Gene Simmons. It's absolutely the demon. He's my absolute all-time favorite. The blood, the persona. Anytime he gave an interview, like he seemed to be, I don't know, he was just into giving interviews. The other guys didn't seem as much into it, so I was always a Gene guy.
For most of my life, it's Paul Stanley, but when I first got into Kiss, it was Gene Simmons. But somehow, as I got a little older, when I became a teenager, Paul just is everything. He's the singer, the songwriter, the show leader. I even have the same tattoo as Paul Stanley. So he's been a big influence. Influences how when they took the makeup off, he influenced how I dress. When I used to have long hair, I tried to do it like Paul Stanley around the Revenge tour. It was crazy stuff.
I've known you because of the Kiss Room, which you do right here at this college.
Right next door, Montgomery County Community College, Monco Radio, where music and minds meet.
That is correct. That was a good commercial right there. And you can listen
usually the second Friday.
Yes, usually the second Friday of every month. Y'all all listen to that because it's a wonderful show. It's live and they play music. But one of the things that I wanted to ask you was, because it's really important to me, I want two good stories right here. I want to talk to you about how the show got started, because you've been doing it how many years now?
So this is the, I guess, 7th year of the Kiss Room. The funny thing is it started, and if anybody listens to the Kiss Room, they know the story, is that May 11th, 1974, Kiss was supposed to play here at Montgomery County Community College. Now, if you think about that, Argent was the headliner. Kiss is the opening band. It's May 1974, means that first Kiss album has only come out months prior. They're really not anybody beyond kind of a local New York, New Jersey kind of band. So they're scheduled to play here. Of course, it never happened. But the funny thing is, I have this poster that shows May 11th, 1974. So I would always sneak on the air around May 11th and do a Kiss special, bringing Kiss to Monco on the day they should have been here. Or my birthday, it's usually the start of the year, and I would sneak into the radio station and do a show because there was not a lot of students. It was winter break. Or spring break, there'd be nobody around. So I would sneak in and do a couple hours or whatever. So then May 11th, it was 2012, I did my Kiss Room special, and Ken Mills was really the one that said, this is great, you should do this all the time. And he, oddly enough, had listened before, had heard other versions of it when we used to stream out on Winamp or whatever it was called. And I said, I would love to do it. And I bought the domain name, thekissroom.com, started coming up with, graphics for it and everything, and started doing it, on a regular basis. And the first show was pretty much me sitting and talking to myself and playing Kiss songs for whoever was in my phone that they'd text me and say, play this song. But then the second episode, Frank Hagen, who did Kiss Mask Fanzine, he says, well, I could come up and be a guest. I was like, that'd be great if you came up and you were a guest. So he actually came up, and then he said to me, I could get Bruce Kulick to call in. And Bruce Kulick called in. And then we had Lydia Chris. She called in. This is when it's very early. It's the first couple episodes. And now there's about 700 different Kiss podcasts, but at the time it was kind of unique, and it was something different in 2012. But it was great because it kind of put it on the map. Like, here's these actual people from Kiss, calling in, and I just kept doing it. And people seemed to really appreciate it and listen, I was always thrilled by that. So it was that's how it started, really.
Right. It's really funny because when we'll talk sometimes, you'll tell me, it always blows my mind that I'll get a piece of mail and somebody's listening from.
Right.
Where's the farthest you've ever? I mean, you've
You
had
know
people
what?
text you during the show. Like,
in Scotland, like the idea that there's somebody in Wales or Scotland, or you get those kind of messages. I'm in Scotland, like Ewan listens in Scotland, and he'll tell me, I love it, Matt, because the Kiss Room comes on at 8:00 on a Friday, and it's perfect. You're not drinking, you're dropping a couple beers and listening to the show, and you go, it's Scotland. It's like, I'll never get to Scotland, but I'm live there. I love that. Or like, Dave's in Wales, in a little town off of Wales, wearing a Kiss Room shirt. I see that kind of stuff. It blows my mind. Or you see these pictures from like Australia, people wearing a Kiss Room shirt. You go, I'll never get there, but my shirt somehow has made it there.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, the first big reunion show, it was a big deal to hop in a dilapidated car and drive all the way from central Wisconsin all the way to Minneapolis, the Twin Cities where they were playing, but we had to be there. There was no way. And we were going to miss it. So me and my best friend, we made that road trip, and we got there early thinking it would be like the old days where you stand in line and get the tickets, and get the best ones, and because we didn't order them ahead of time back then. So we got there, we all stood in line, and they ended up doing some kind of crazy flip-flop where we were up front for a long time, and when they came out, they said, we're going to do this on a lottery. So you're going to draw numbers for the best tickets. We were like, no way. We put all this hard work and this travel and this time, and we've waited out here so long to see this band. You can't do it like that. And we fought so hard they didn't do it. They let us in correct order. Yeah, we fought for Kiss. Fought to see them.
Yes, I have. Actually, my wife and I got engaged, but I went back to the state of Washington and went and saw Kiss in Eugene, Oregon in 2016 with my son. Hey, Mark. No.
I've seen Kiss like 60 times now, and it's less about the band and more about the fans, getting together, the community. When I was young, I was voted most likely to go to prison. I was a bully, I was a problem child, and everybody told me that my problem was Kiss. They're the root of all my problems. And I actually believed them. And even at the time, I used to have a small little Kiss collection. And I decided, you know what, I'm gonna change my life. I threw away all my stuff, decided to change my life, and I was doing better in school, I was less of a bully. In 1989, Kiss came out with a song called Hide Your Heart. And I go, wow, that is such an amazing song. Decided to go to the Hot in the Shade concert, and when that logo came up for the first time, I felt like I was 10 years old again. I realized that day that Kiss wasn't my damnation, they were my salvation. Without the band, I believe I wouldn't be here today.
what do you think the main attraction of Kiss? Obviously, just from listening to you talk, it all fit with the Star Wars, the comic books, and the...
I think the music was so powerful that, but I always say kind of simple enough. Even like an 8-year-old or 8 years old, you kind of felt it more than really understood it. Like I didn't know what they were talking about. Like a lot of the innuendo, certainly, at the time, Christine 16 was something you aspired to. I'm 8 years old, and now you look back and you go, hey, I'm a little feeling creepy. But it was something that it felt like, in something like God of Thunder, you listen to it. To this day, if you start to hear Detroit Rock City, when it starts that da-na-na-na-na-na, you just get excited by it. I still do. Now, everybody watching this, you've heard that song 8 billion times. Something about it still is exciting. Even you look back at those old pictures, there's just a look to it. And I think people that if you didn't kind of grow up with that mystery, you can't understand the mystery of Kiss. Because now everything, here's Paul Stanley with his Starbucks. There's no mystery. But at the time, those 70s, that was just a magic time.
You wanted to know who they were.
You wanted, but you couldn't find out.
And you would die to find a picture or whatever.
Right.
You know, did you believe all the rumors like I did?
You know what? You knew that it wasn't a cow's tongue. You know, that was the one that you'd always hear. The one that I got a lot was, you know, in church, especially, you know, you're 10 years old or whatever, was, oh, they're devil worshippers, and it's nights and Satan's service. And I was like, nah, you know, I don't worship the devil. I just like their music. And to me, they were really superheroes. It was never about the devil. But I can remember a couple times, you know, in Sunday school that the teachers, they don't like that. You know, they don't like Kiss, so.
Do you think that you would have been as big a fan had they not worn the makeup? Do you think the music would have been as great to you?
I think, especially being 8 years old at the time, and everything that I was into, comic books and things like that, it was the whole package. Like, you know, Led Zeppelin looked like regular guys. You weren't going to put pictures of Led Zeppelin on your wall because that's a dude on your wall. Kiss was superheroes. You know, like Superman and Batman and Kiss had a certain vibe to it that wasn't just regular guys. And I think that's what really attracted me, because then it's superheroes playing this music, and you go, you can't beat that. It's the greatest thing ever, and it still is. So
right. You think the end of the road means something different to every person?
I think everybody's looking at it some way different. At first, you saw a lot of posts, real sad, oh, you know, end of the road. I don't think the end of the road means the end of Kiss. I think it means the end of big tours. But I think look, you only get so many days, but until the end, I think they'll still do a lot. You know, they'll still be out there doing things, and, you know, will it be big shows? Will it be, you know, as even the band? I keep saying I think they'll come back as animated characters. Scooby-Doo, an animated version of Kiss could play new music and still look like they're 24 years old. It's a cartoon. You can look however you want. So it's, I don't know. I think things like that. I think that that's how it will live on. You know, I think it does kind of mean probably no more big tours. But, you know, look, time doesn't wait for anybody. So it's, you know, I think it's not like we're surprised by that. I think the last 20 years have been kind of icing on the cake. You know, it's like they were going to say farewell to all of us 20 years ago. And think of all the fun we've had since.